Sat Shri Akal, guys, welcome back to another beautiful day. Welcome back to another episode of the Mauritius series. So, जैसे आपको पता है, we are coming at the end of my course. Like मेरा course खत्म होने वाला है, and it's time to fly back from Mauritius. So आज के इस episode में मैं आपके साथ share करने वाला हूँ मेरे experiences Mauritius में, good experiences and bad experiences, all of the things related to my lifestyle, my study life, my travel experiences in Mauritius. So जब मैं पहले Mauritius में आया from Dar es Salaam, यहाँ की सुंदरता देख के मैं I was like blown off, the beautiful beaches and the beautiful sunsets and sunrises जैसे आप मेरे पीछे देख सकते हो, और हर 10 मिनट की ड्राइव के बाद there was a different view, एक different ही impression था country के लिए. The roads are so clean, laws, everyone is following the laws like the traffic rules and all that. यहाँ के लोग इतने welcoming और wonderful people. The culture of Mauritius is beautiful as they follow Hinduism culture. And otherwise the island is just paradise. इतने सुंदर सुंदर views, इतनी सुंदर जगह घूमने के लिए, not only beaches but also mountains. You can go hiking, trekking, water activities इतने हैं जैसे आप मेरे पीछे देख सकते हो. और जैसे मैंने बोला कि Mauritius follows Hinduism, like majority of the population जो Mauritius में रहती है Hinduism follow करती है. तो यहाँ पे इतने सुंदर सुंदर हिंदू मंदिर हैं, जैसे आपने मेरी पिछली वीडियोस में देखा भी होगा. One of the most famous is गंगा तालाब, जो यहाँ से कुछ 30 मिनट की ड्राइव है, with a beautiful mountain surrounding it and a beautiful lake around it. So a lot of people follow Hinduism, and the mandirs in this place, they're really beautiful and extraordinary. So about the cost of living in Mauritius. The cost of living in Mauritius is pretty high because as अपना हमारा India British से colonized था, British used to rule our country. The same way Mauritius was colonized and ruled by the French people. So जैसे यहाँ पे French influence बहुत ज़्यादा है, तो a lot of French influence होने की वजह से Mauritius is quite expensive. And the daily, like even if you're a tourist, the hotels are quite expensive. A nice good hotel is quite expensive. The food, the groceries, the daily basic needs, everything is quite expensive. And even at the place where I live, my house where I live is quite expensive because it is colonized by the French. So compared to Europe, UK or Canada and America, compared to these places, Mauritius is really cheaper. It's like बहुत सस्ता है compared से. अगर you compare it from India and Tanzania or like the countries where most of the people यहाँ पे पढ़ने के लिए आते हैं, from that side it's really cheap because our countries India and Tanzania really like cheaper for like the daily and basic needs. And if we talk about the traditional food in Mauritius, जैसे आपको पता है Mauritius is mostly follows the Hindu influence. So जैसे यहाँ पे lot of Hindu and Indian influence है, तो most of their foods are basically like something like curries and all that. And one of the most famous food these people have here is dhol puri. So dhol puri is kind of a dried out puri. उसमें I think rajma डाल के, so the beans डाल के, chutney डाल के, they make that, and that's the most famous food here. I've tried it out a few times, but not a big fan of it. And mostly they prefer eating biryanis and lots of different type of curries. So as you know, Mauritius is an island है, तो यहाँ पे seafood is really really famous due to like we are completely surrounded by island. And there's one other thing which is really famous, which is the Mauritian tea. And when I came in this country and I traveled around to a few places, I realized that Mauritius का culture like बहुत diverse है. Like there's people living here from different countries. जैसे China, Europe, UK, Indians. There's a lot of Indians doing jobs here. And many Africans like from Nigeria, Tanzania, Kenya, and countries around there. So it has a really diverse culture. अगर हम बात करें challenges की, so obviously we are living so far from home. I'm living alone, and not only for me living alone, but the overall challenges in this country is that everything closes really early. Like if you want to go out after like 7 or 8 p.m., you'll find this place as a ghost town. सब कुछ खाली, everything is closed. You'll just find कुछ restaurants जो open होंगे, but most of the malls, the supermarkets, and the basic needs जो चाहिए होती है, everything is closed. जैसे इंडिया में, or I'll probably talk about India and Tanzania to compare it with, because मैं वहाँ से grew up in Tanzania and originated from India, like I belong from India. So I would say like compared to those places, Tanzania, things are open, restaurants and supermarkets are open until 12 a.m. Or for me, coming from Tanzania to this country has been really different, and because me experiencing this timings like things getting up close really early is a thing. And the second thing, if we would talk about, is the language. So mostly people speak here is Creole or French. So sometimes communicating with the people here is really difficult. Talking about the weather here, जैसे आपने मेरे पुराने वीडियोस में देखा है, हम एक island पे है which is surrounded by the ocean on the whole sides. So the weather here is quite different. जैसे it's a tropical weather. कभी भी बारिश हो जाती है and it's mostly really humid and sunny. But जैसे आपने मेरी पिछली वीडियोस में देखा होगा कि cyclones यहाँ के लिए it's a really common thing because we are in the middle of the ocean, so the cyclones like tornadoes and all that, it's really common. So after the cyclones, first of all, जब cyclone आता है, so as we are in the middle of the ocean, they currently like they will completely lock down the country because the tides come up and the weather is really bad due to the heavy rains. Floods भी हो जाते हैं, तो इसकी वजह से पहली बात तो लॉकडाउन हो जाता है कंट्री में, and secondly sometimes they don't even inform you in advance, so you can आप पहले से you can get up your stuff, your like the basic needs वो आप ला के रख सकते हो. And then the third thing is the scarcity, and to find things after the cyclone the prices इतने महंगे हो जाते हैं and चीज़ें ढूंढनी उसके बाद, especially like milk prices, vegetable prices, जो basic needs हैं इनके prices तो extra expensive हो जाते हैं. So cyclones is one of the challenges if you are living in Mauritius. But the good things about Mauritius, so if you're coming to Mauritius, as you guys know, the beautiful beach life, so the oceans are so clear, इतना साफ पानी है यहाँ का, so like you're obviously gonna love the beach sides. And water activities, इतनी सारी water activities है, you can go kayaking, surfing, dolphin sighting, sometimes I think यहाँ पे whale sighting भी होती है, and you can go for like plane rides. So there's a really famous एक जगह है जहाँ पे मुझे भी जाना है, but it's really costly, which is called the underwater waterfalls. So वहाँ पे you have to go up in the air with a plane or a helicopter and you see a waterfalls which is under the ocean. So वो एक असली में waterfall नहीं है, but it's kind of a formation. वो जगह की form ऐसे होती है कि वो दिखती है ऐसे जैसे वो कोई waterfall है, तो वो बहुत famous जगह है, but it's really costly to go around there. And you know, we're surrounded by the mountains all around क्योंकि Mauritius was made up by volcanoes. So hiking up the mountains and looking at the beautiful view of the ocean from the mountains is really good. And as you know, it's a Hindu diverse culture here in Mauritius. Mostly people are of Hindu influence. So there are really pretty Hindu mandirs around everywhere, and there's even pretty churches as much as I've seen, because I haven't seen much about like the Muslim culture here, and I don't even think there's a lot of Muslim diversity around here. But the Hindu and the Christian diversity is in a huge amount, as I always see big mandirs and big churches around there everywhere. And the other good side, I would say, the people are really friendly here. Sometimes like if you want to ask them for something, help, they're really friendly to help you out around or take you around. But the taxis are really costly here, so if you're coming to Mauritius, I would prefer renting out a car instead of taking a taxi to go around. So let's talk about my travel experiences. जैसे आपको पता है कि मैं एक traveler हूँ और मेरा YouTube channel भी is based on traveling to different places, नई नई जगह को एक्सप्लोर करना, नए लोगों से मिलना, उस जगह के बारे में जानना और उस कंट्री की कल्चर और डाइवर्सिटी के बारे में जानना. So Mauritius I came to study, but one of my aim was also to travel Mauritius and know about Mauritius properly. So if we talk about Mauritius as a country, it's really pretty. Just as much as I've seen, but I haven't been to the whole of Mauritius, but the specific places जहाँ पे मैं गया हूँ, one was, okay, I live in Flick-on-Flack, which is a nice area surrounded by the beach. The most famous thing in Flick-on-Flack to do around is just come sit at the beach side and chill, spend the whole day here. And one thing I can talk about is Tamarine, जहाँ पे मैं गया हूँ. Other thing is Bones, and the other thing is the capital city of Mauritius, which is Port Louis. So let's start with Tamarine. So my first trip, जब मैं यहाँ पे आया था, I went to Tamarine. And visiting Tamarine was good. I specifically went to Tamarine for hiking up a mountain, but unfortunately उस mountain पे hike करना इतना, like it wasn't allowed anymore. But I was really excited about that hike to go up the mountain, and उस mountain से सुंदर ocean view दिखता था. So I was really excited about that. And then Tamarind, like the culture in Tamarind, I wouldn't say it was the best because I feel like Tamarind was like kind of a village of Mauritius. Like वहाँ पे इतने restaurants नहीं थे, there wasn't a lot of things to do. But around Tamarind, like in a distance of 1 or 2 kilometers, there was a nice Kurdival mall जहाँ पे there were nice brands and good restaurants, even Indian restaurants. And then my second trip to go in Mauritius was Quatre Bones. So Quatre Bones and Abney. So इन दोनों cities को बुलाया जाता है the cyber cities of Mauritius. So basically the business hubs of Mauritius. So going around Quatre Bones was nice. बहुत सी चीजें थी. So basically if you're going to Quatre Bones, the things you will see is malls. The big malls in Mauritius, which is Tribeca and Bagatelle. And Bagatelle is also like one of the biggest malls in the Indian Oceans. So when you're going to Quatre Bones, you can see these big malls and you can go around, explore the cyber city, which is Abney. And traveling around, if you are at a specific point, traveling around is really easy. You can get buses or metros to go around. So I would say like if you're coming just for a specific thing, or like let's say you're in Port Louis or in Quatre Bones where the metros go, so I would say traveling with the metro is the best idea. So my most longest and the best trips जो मैंने Mauritius में की हैं वो थी Port Louis की. So as you know, Port Louis is the capital city of Mauritius, and वहाँ पे करने की इतनी सी चीजें थी like you wouldn't get tired. So if you're going for a trip in Port Louis, I would recommend you to go for like a few days, like at least 3 to 4 days, because वहाँ पे करने की चीजें इतनी हैं. You can go around to the different like churches and mosques. I haven't seen a lot of mosques in Port Louis, but you can go to different mandirs and different churches around in Port Louis, and you can go chill at the Kyodan waterfront, which is a waterfront area where there are a lot of restaurants and shopping like brands, and there's even a duty free in Port Louis because most of the tourists, when they come to Mauritius, they prefer going to Port Louis. And there's a famous aquarium in Port Louis, which is like called Odesso, I think so, if I'm correct pronouncing it. And there's a lot of historical places in Port Louis where you can go around, like Aparvasi Ghat, the Postal Museum, from which you guys can learn about the past and the history of Mauritius, like how Mauritius was formed and all the slave trade that happened in Mauritius and these kind of things. So when I came to Mauritius, like as you all know, like if you follow up my vlogs, that when I came to Mauritius, my dad came with me to drop me. And at that time, there was one place I went to, which I really loved, which was Ganga Talao. It is a Hindu mandir, covered on the all sides with the mountain, and there's a lake in the middle. So I really wanted to go at that place again now because I was planning to do a road trip, but unfortunately I do not have a license, so I couldn't execute that road trip. But if you guys are coming to Mauritius, I would recommend you guys to go to Ganga Talao. And there's a lot of other places called like, there's a place called Grand Bay where the ocean life is really good. And there's a lot other places in Mauritius which I couldn't cover this time, but I'm surely going to do it next time when I come to Mauritius, because the Mauritius, I haven't covered it properly at all. I was just at some specific places, and the vlogs which you used to see were either on the daily life or my experiences in Mauritius. My overall experience in Mauritius was wonderful. Coming out to a different country which I knew about, which I didn't know about. Like I didn't know anything about this country, and living here for 7 months was a wonderful experience. Meeting a lot of new people, meeting people from my home country, from Tanzania or from around Tanzania, and traveling alone, figuring out everything on my own. How do I have to reach at that place, and all the experiences. And I would overall say that it was a good time living in Mauritius. The whole 7 months I spent here was wonderful. And what I would recommend you guys is to surely come to Mauritius. But one thing which I would tell you to look after is the weather. So do come in a weather time when it is not raining. So because if you come to Mauritius when it's raining weather, you won't enjoy the beaches and the mountains. So I would say not to come around from November to February, March, not to come around that time a lot because it's like the cyclone season around that time. I'm taking like a lot of experiences and things which I've learned as I'm flying back. And I would totally recommend you guys coming to Mauritius and living here or spending a good holiday here. So that's all for my experience video, and I hope you guys liked it and it's a bit helpful for you. If you guys like this video and if it's helpful for you in any way, so don't forget to drop a like, don't forget to comment, don't forget to share and subscribe to your friends and family members, and don't forget to subscribe